Hey, you guys.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome to the very first episode of The Skirted Professional. We are so excited that you're here with us. We are your hosts, Chloe and Ellerie, and we're excited to start this journey with you guys. This probably started about 6 months ago. It is a huge passion project for both of us, and we can't wait to take you along with us on the journey.
Yeah, so probably 6 months ago, I think you were coming off of maternity leave.
Yeah.
And Ellerie approached me. We knew we needed to either start a blog or a podcast. And we love podcasts and listen to them on our own.
I'm
and
a podcast junkie all the way.
She loves them. So when she approached me, I had already had the name that I wanted it to be. And so we just kind of worked really hard and put our best foot forward to make it happen. And coming in contact with so many amazing women and hearing their stories is really the driving force behind this, and wanting those stories to be heard. So that is what this podcast is going to be about, the Skirted Professional, to be always skirted in professionalism. And we are going to be interviewing ladies that we've come in contact with. We have a list going of some incredible ladies of all different professions, and we want to interview them. Every episode, we're going to have a different lady to interview and hear about their story and their journey and what got them to where they're at right now. And if you have a suggestion of someone who has impacted your life or has influenced you in a strong way, tag them, leave us a comment, send us a direct message, whatever. Get their name on our list because we would love to hear from them. So that's what you can expect from this podcast. It's either going to be Ellerie or myself interviewing ladies. We will be doing some in our office here in St. Louis. And then the ones that are out of state we'll be doing via the computer and different platforms that way. So we're just so excited, and we know great things will come from this.
Yeah, we're newbies, so give us a little bit of grace, but we will try to have this on video as well so that you can log in on our social media. Or if you're just, super into podcasts like I am, then you can find us wherever you're already listening. So if you're here with us now, right at the very beginning, then you're probably already familiar with See Saucy, which is our company that we have. And Chloe has shared some of her story over the journey of See Saucy, bits and pieces along the way. You may not know that I'm actually married to Chloe's brother. So we are sisters-in-law. Yes, we're family. That's how we were initially connected, even though we work together as well now. So relationships in all kinds of ways here. But today we kind of want to do a deep dive, Chloe, into your story. Like I said, you've shared a little bit here and there, but I kind of want to know just where all of this started for you.
So I got a call when I was 11 years old. My great-grandmother was sick, and my whole journey starts with just me becoming a nurse in general. And so I helped take care of my great-grandmother and really felt a call in my life to be a nurse. And so that's what I was told. That's what I knew. And then I didn't hear anything else until I was done with nursing school, which is really interesting. So went through a very rigorous program, and all throughout that had to have multiple sets of scrub pants altered to make them into what I wanted to wear as a professional, and I chose to wear a scrub skirt. I wanted to showcase femininity and just be different. And so there weren't many modern scrub skirts out there, and so the journey proved to be a difficult one, where multiple trips to scrub shops, multiple purchases of having to exchange for a larger size so that the larger size could be turned into a different size skirt. So it was just a lot of hassle. And all throughout my life, I played sports, and my mom would help me alter sports pants into a skirt, which we have great athletic companies now that's more readily available. But it's just been a process in every season of my life, and choosing to wear something different, alterations had to be made. And so when I graduated and I got this great job, and it was a prestigious hospital, one that if you say you work there, people just know, like, that's a good hospital. And when I started working, I realized I know the information. I know I'm a good nurse, but I don't feel the part. I don't feel like I look the part. and I hated feeling less than. I wanted to be confident in the training that I had received. I graduated from a great nursing school and knew my patients trusted my care, but when I walked in, I looked a little mismatch here and there. And so all of that led to this dream of, why is there not an easier and more convenient way to walk into a scrub shop and just get a nice, modern looking scrub skirt set? And so when I realized there was a market for that, and lots of my friends and people I was in contact with kind of wanted the same thing I did, but nobody had started this. And so it was a dream of mine to one day start a scrub skirt company. And so that's how See Saucy came up into the existence, which has been
existence in your brain.
In my brain, yes, it's a brainchild and has literally taken over life. But it came out of a need, and a need for me, but then realizing there truly is a large market for this. And honestly, now that it's cultivated into what it is, I've realized there's a whole platform and there's a whole voice of ladies. Their voices are not heard.
Wow.
And when you look at the modern day scrub apparel or just medical professionals in general, there's a whole section of people who have no options. And so if we can be those people to give those options and make that our priority, to make it more convenient to have options, it just seems like the world should not have to dictate what is the mainstream medical apparel. And so all of that to say, it's been an incredible journey. I was involved in an entrepreneurial competition that was able to kind of give the idea of See Saucy, and that went really well. And then once we knew that there truly was a market, it was like, okay, now we have to make this into something. Now this has to fill a need. It has to be a niche business. And so luckily my parents jumped on board and 100% funded See Saucy and invested, and they're amazing in that way and have definitely helped grow this thing. And in the growing process, my sister-in-law Ellerie and her husband were in town. They had moved back to the area, and so they helped throw some social media pages together and helped with marketing, and it really just cultivated into a company at that point. But from the time that we pitched our idea, of the business, to the time we actually launched products was a whole year. And so it took a lot of time, a lot of researching. I was just a nurse that had no clue about fabrics and manufacturing and all of these things. So it has been a crazy ride, and I feel like God has been there every step of the way. But
did you, in that process, how was that? Were you just ordering things at random, trying to see if they would work?
So Google was my best friend, our best friend, and we would Google just literally the most basic elementary.
What is polyester?
What is lycra? What is spandex? And how do you get material? Where do you even manufacture stuff like that? What is involved with that? And it felt like Christmas every day, because we would be getting in these fabric swatches of polka dots and these crazy prints, and it's like, ooh, I like the feel of that, and I like the stretch of that. And thankfully, God put our quarterback, is what we call him, our See Saucy quarterback, in our path, and he is incredible. We won't mention his name for privacy reasons, but he helped us.
He's a connection in the industry.
Yes, he works in the industry. He knows fabric suppliers. He hooked us up with a manufacturer and has been such a blessing to the startup of See Saucy. And but it was pulling wild hairs here and there in the beginning and figuring out, what even is material and what is this process.
Sure. I just remember us all, it was me, you, and your mom sitting around a table, and we would just have boxes of these samples, and it would be thick scuba swimwear, or it would be so thin you could see straight through it. But they would both say that they were the same material, they were the same blend. And
how are these 95.5?
For months, we were so confused.
It's so true. And I remember the very first one was this is the winner, but we had no clue. We're it just feels good. But we knew we wanted stretch. We knew we wanted it thick enough to hide undergarments and to hide all these different aspects. And so
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking that Caleb and I went to New York during that time, and we were Googling, like, what is the garment district? We walked into some stores, and there were just rugs, and just as clueless as we could be.
Yes.
At that time.
Yes.
But how fun it was.
Oh,
too.
It's been amazing. And yeah, just the cluelessness, the elementary faith of we're just going to do this and whatever we have to do to make this work.
The naivety.
Yes. This is a need. You know, I know nothing. I just graduated nursing school. I do not have a business degree, interior design, or, clothing, all of that. I don't know those aspects. And so it has been a wild ride, but so fun. And I can truly say God has given the inspiration and God has given the wisdom. And I really feel that every day, that impartation of his vision for it. And I think we were just willing vessels. It was like, this needs to happen from somebody. And so whoever answers the call, that's how I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at today.
Sure. So I'm curious, what was going on in your personal life during all this time? Because I know that you were finishing nursing school. You mentioned a great job.
Yes.
That was in Baton Rouge, right?
Yes.
So how'd you end up here, and what were you doing in the meantime?
So whenever we started even talking about the company and all of that, I was working the night shift, 12 hours a night, 3 nights a week on a mother-baby unit in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I was engaged to my now husband almost of 3 years. He's over here recording. And I had this great job, but I knew for the sake of the company, the night shift was just not going to keep working out for me. So I applied to an OBGYN clinic that was connected to the hospital. It was a great job. Loved the doctor that I worked for. And so funny, I remember we posted just the first picture of C-Saucy's logo.
Yeah.
And we put up a caption saying we were starting this and we're filling a need. And I was at work. We posted it the night before. I went to work like normal the next day. And I remember at lunchtime, I checked my phone, and I had probably 20 messages from the family thread. And it was, oh my goodness, it's gone viral. Oh my goodness, it's got this many likes and this many shares. And when I looked at my phone, my first words were, oh my goodness, what have I done? Regret. Yes. It went it truly went viral in a sense, in my world. You know, it wasn't a million views or a million shares, but for what I was wanting to start, it just took off. And
how did that feel in the moment to have something that has lived inside your brain and, just to put it out in the world and get this massive response? What was that like?
I think it just solidified. It was overwhelming, number one, but it solidified to me that it was a calling, that I had truly heard from God in that way, and it wasn't just, hey, let's take this journey that you have no clue about. And then also it just overwhelmed me in such a way that I was like, all right, let's just do this. Let's get it done. And so thankful to have such a great team of people around and that could jump in and help get it going and just figure out what we needed to do. But I walked into that doctor and was like, look at this. I can't believe it.
And I'm curious, were you wearing at that time like our samples? Do you remember? Or was it still, because we had samples made from a lady in a trailer in Baton Rouge, and I can't remember, but I know that you wore some C-Saucy at that job.
I did, yeah. So we had our first fabric, which actually we did the pitch in.
Okay.
I wore that scrub set often, but that was the only one. That was the only scrub set that we ever had, because it was just a business plan. It wasn't actually a product. It was a sample.
Right.
So I did wear that, but I had also, on that new job, I had to have 5 different colors for every day. So that meant I went and bought 5 different sets of scrubs, which were pants, and they were extra large pants that I had turned into a medium scrub skirt. And the lady charged me $60 per alteration. So by the time I had finished those 5 sets, it was over $600 that I had spent for that new job. And that's when it went viral and it went live. I was like, okay, enough is enough. Like, other people need this.
Sure.
How do we go from here? How do we take a viral vision and make it a reality? And so I was wearing our first set, which I got a lot of compliments on, but then I was also wearing handmade altered pants into a skirt.
So once I know you mentioned your fiance at that time.
Yes.
Tell us about that transition into here, St. Louis.
So when I took that new job, I stayed there for as long as I could. I was planning a wedding during that time, and just really, I asked to go part-time. I asked to have a day off here and there to devote to See Saucy, because at that point, we had gotten our quarterback on the team, and he had set up appointments with fabric suppliers and appointments with manufacturers, and so it was involving a lot more during the day that I just did not have time for in my 8 to 4 job. And when that request wasn't granted, I had the opportunity to go to another clinic, and it was a much more laid-back position where I was able to work part-time and then do See Saucy the other half of the time. So I actually forgot your question.
Just walk us through then your transition to St. Louis.
That's right.
What that looked like.
During that time, I was planning my wedding, and the week of my wedding, I took bridals, and then the photographer came to my house, to my parents' house, and in the backyard, we set up a white screen, and I modeled the first set of See Saucy scrubs on my wedding week.
Hey, at least you were wedding ready. That's
right.
Pictures.
I was the skinniest, I was the tannest I was ever going to be, and so I love those pictures. It was a good launching material, but we took those pictures there, planning the wedding. The wedding happened. I got married and moved to St. Louis with my husband, Brock, and we ran See Saucy out of my basement. And so at that point, it was just getting shipments in. I remember sitting in my living room floor for 3 hours just putting tags on every skirt, putting tags on every garment, just by myself, just organizing, adding it to inventory, sending out orders. And so it was a process, and then finally was able to get some help from somebody to help me ship out. And so that was a huge blessing. But that's how we transitioned to St. Louis and where it is run now.
So in your personal life, did you work when you moved here, or was See Saucy it?
I moved here in May, and my husband and I had saved enough and worked it out enough that I probably wouldn't need to find a job until the end of that year. And my husband is a middle school math teacher, and so his schedule, yes, he's a saint. His schedule is he gets off by like 2:15 every day, and so I knew, we're newly married. I want to be with him. I want to cultivate a strong foundation, and so a 12-hour night shift job probably wasn't going to be my best fit. And so I prayed for a surgery center job, something that you go in really early and you're done by 2 p.m., something like that. And in August, I applied to one, got accepted. They put me straight in the operating room as a circulating nurse, which is so much fun if you're in the operating room. And so God blessed me with that job. And so I started working in August while running See Saucy on the side. See Saucy had launched that month, August 10th, and I started working August 27th. So it all kind of happened around the same time, and I worked part-time at the surgery center. I was 3 days a week, and in my interview, I remember telling my boss, now I do have this little side gig, that's why I only want 3 days a week, and she was very accommodating with that. And now she laughs that I called it a side gig because now it's literally all day, every day. But so yes, I did work throughout all of that. I was a newlywed. I was trying to cultivate a marriage and learn how to be a wife and cook and clean, all while running a small startup out of my basement. And so it was a lot of juggling hats, and I was in a new place. I was all new friends. My family was back in Louisiana still. All my family, nobody lived here. So, and then y'all moved here a month or 2 months later, which was such a blessing. But yeah, so that's the story of it moving to St. Louis.
Okay. How long did you stay at that job, or are you still there?
I recently just quit that job.
Ooh.
I was there for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So back in January, I was on the way to church, and I just felt God kind of slapped me upside the head and said, it's time for you to just trust me and go full time with CSAUCY. And that is something I was really nervous about doing. Number one, I didn't want to lose my footing in the nurse world. And I had worked so hard to get that degree and to get where I was that all these questions started happening of what will this do to my career? I've only been a nurse for 4 years. Will I ever get back into it? Like, why am I needing to step away from this? And I was just so overwhelmed with the presence of God. And he said, just trust me. I'm going to use that degree for what I need it used for. And so it took me about 2 months from that happening to really put that in motion. I think he knew he needed to tell me early so that I was preparing myself. But I had a conversation with my parents and just said, this is what I feel can happen. Are we in a place that this can happen? And they were on board with it. And so in March, I ended that job and became full-time with CSAUCY, which is where I'm at now.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like along your way, God gave you kind of opportunities to be in all of these different roles in nursing or just in the professional world in general, which I think is so cool because you have a little taste of, working in a hospital, working the night shift, being in a clinic, and then, serving a clinic in maybe a different role, and then stepping into the OR, which we know is a totally different experience.
Different. Yes.
Even as far as just the practicality of the dress code.
Yes.
And everything else. And so along that journey, what did you feel like you came out with? Did you come out with like a life message or a passion that you have right now?
I think in this season of my life, I am very passionate about discipling and equipping the next generation of ladies to be professional, to be skirted. And I'm going to do a plug for the name of this podcast, but truly, when you skirt something, you surround it, you cover it. And so right now in my life as a Christian, as a female, I want to be skirted in professionalism in all areas. And that could mean something different to everyone. And for me, I want to show up on time. I want to put my best foot forward. I want to look nice. I want to take care of myself health-wise and wellness-wise. And I want to be the best that I can be so that God shines through me and the world sees that. And so I feel like in a way, when I went to my hospital, they had never seen a scrub skirt before. And so I kind of paved the way for that to be normal. Like, hey, there are ladies out there who want to dress differently, and that's okay. So now I have several friends who work at that hospital, and it's a no-brainer that they wear a skirt. I remember walking into the charge nurse office after my initial interview, and I wore the skirt that I was going to wear, and there were 4 of them in there, and they looked me up and down, and they said, oh, yeah, it's not as bad as we thought it would be. And I was like, oh, thanks. I guess that's a good thing. But truly, they had never seen that before, and so paving the way for other ladies to come in, look different than everyone else, but still feel confident, have the professionalism that they need to have the respect from their coworkers and their patients, and just truly, I feel that passion to disciple ladies in all areas of life to incorporate professionalism. I don't know if I'm articulating it.
I love what you're saying because you're using the word professionalism, but it really sounds to me like character.
Yes.
And really having a Christ-like character and excellence to you as a person, and not compromising that character in your place of work. Or if you are a professional in your field, carrying that character with you. And even if you're not, carrying the character with you to every aspect of your life, but deciding who you want to be and what you want to stand for, look like, emulate, and allowing that to go with you in every aspect of your life, and showing people that come behind you that that's okay.
Yes.
And kind of paving the way of, look, it's been done before. You can be who you are in this setting too.
And encouraging them, don't ruin it for the next generation. Pick up that torch and be professional, be good at what you do, but be yourself. Own your Christianity, own your individualism, and be who you are, because we accept everyone, we accept everyone, and we just want to be accepted as well. And so giving them the confidence to look the part, feel the part, but then also having the skills to really be the part and be comfortable in that.
Sure. Growing into whatever role you've been placed
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
I love that.
It's a good life story, but I think every season warrants a new mission and a new passion. And I have just really felt strongly, and it goes with this name of the podcast perfectly, but just the next generation of ladies need to have the skills. They need to be equipped to be Christian and to be professional.
Sure.
You know.
Absolutely. So. And I think a license to do that.
Yes.
Permission to do both.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we're here for. Not to say this is the way that you have to do it, but we've been so impressed by women who are just owning who they are and their season of life and what they're called to be in that season, whether it's, a job like nursing, whether it's motherhood, whether it's ministry, whatever season of life they're in, they're owning it and walking forward with a confidence in who they are, and they're staying rooted and grounded and not changing anything about them for their season. And
the world needs that.
Absolutely.
We need those type of people in every avenue, in every profession, in every church, in every community, however you can affect your world and your mission field right then, it's do that. Do the part. Be you. Yeah. And so enough about me, though. I feel like I've been talking the whole time, but let's learn about Ellerie. So she mentioned earlier that she is my sister-in-law, and Ellerie was in Baton Rouge at the time of the startup of See Saucy, and somehow I bent her arm to present See Saucy with me on a very large platform, and we got to bond over that experience. And she is a counselor, and I remember before we presented See Saucy, she was doing relaxation techniques with me because we
were breathing.
Oh my Lord, I was about to hyperventilate. So tell us about who you are. Tell us about your background and kind of how you got here to St. Louis as well.
Sure. So we mentioned before, but I am married to your brother, Caleb. We have been married for about 5.5 years now. So our connection, Chloe and I, we're friends years before that. Really before Caleb and I were ever connected.
At first.
So I guess we owe part of our story to you. But we got married in 2015. And at that time, I was in grad school full-time for counseling. And it was something that I felt a call to without truly understanding what a counselor is. I just kind of knew it seemed like a good fit. I love to help people. I love to hear their stories. But I really didn't understand what they did. So as I was in grad school, I really kind of went through a transformative journey myself. And the timing of it was perfect. So I had just started when we got married. I think I was 1 semester in. And Caleb and I were involved in ministry. We became youth pastors at a local church in Texas.
Okay.
And so I continued grad school. I did my internship there. I worked at a child advocacy center and loved every minute of it. Yeah. Taught me so much.
And now you're from Texas.
I am. I'm from the Dallas area. We were not. We were in East Texas. Okay. So actually right between Dallas and Baton Rouge, where both of our families were. So it was kind of a day trip to both places. But even though we were a day trip away, we were alone there. We had no family. We moved into a church where we didn't know anyone. And so it was a time where we really got to know each other and kind of solidified our marriage, tried to learn to work together in a ministry setting as a team. And if anybody knows Caleb and I, we approach everything from completely opposite directions every time. So it was a great time of just learning each other and learning how to work together. We were there about 1.5 years, and then we left and traveled for almost a year. We thought it would be just a few months and ended up being a year. Which was exactly the time that you were preparing for See Saucy. You got engaged while we were there, and we were kind of basing out of Baton Rouge as we were traveling. I had already finished grad school. And so we went through this season. It was so unique in that, like, I had just been running hard towards education and goals, and I had never stopped. I, graduated high school, went straight into undergrad, finished that, went straight into grad school. So I kind of was on this 5-year plan track and had the internship finished, was walking into a full-time job, and it was just full stop on everything we were doing. And so it was such a unique season, but it was so needed as well in a lot of ways. We went through a lot of just personal trials during that time, and I truly believe that the timing of my degree, the timing of what I had learned as a counselor, and on my own self-growth journey could not have been more perfect, because it was something to lean back on during all of the trials we experienced, and it was something for Caleb and I to really grow through and understand how to grow through. So we traveled everywhere, kind of stayed with friends in basements and used credit card points. And our dog lived with family for a whole year. It was just kind of crazy. But at the end of that year, Chloe had gotten married in May. And actually, I don't know if it was the beginning of May or the end of April, right before you got married, Caleb was offered a job in St. Louis. And we were hesitant to even tell you because we knew you were moving here without any family, and we didn't know for sure if that
would work
was
out.
the door that we needed to follow. And but we did, and it was perfect. It was all right, and we ended up moving here in July, right after you did.
Right. Yeah, thank God.
And Caleb started a job here, and he's still at that same job. He loves it. It uses his education, and it ties in with ministry, so it's perfect for his season. So we moved here, and I kind of took odd jobs here and there for a while. Honestly, I was just kind of hesitant to jump back into counseling, and I think because I had been so hard on this track, and leaving my kind of dream job right after finishing felt like such a stumbling block and setback that I was so hesitant to jump back in, because I just knew nothing else would compare to that job I had. But I did finally, about 6 months after we moved here, I did step back into private practice counseling. So I did that for about a year, and I enjoyed it. It was very part-time. But a year later, I had my son, Easton. So that was March of 2020 last year. So it was a crazy time to have a baby.
Through a pandemic, quarantine baby.
Right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was nice in a lot of ways. And I hesitate to say that because it was such a tough year for everyone. But for us, it was such a pause from all of life. And I mean, my husband was home for 6 weeks after I had Easton.
Which is unheard of.
It's unheard of. I mean, here in the U.S., it's unheard of. All of our Canadians are like,
we
know. We have that already. But Caleb was home for 6 weeks, and I didn't go back to work for 8 or 9 months. And that was incredible. That was so nice to just have that time and adjust into motherhood a little bit. But at the end of that time, I did start working 1 day a week at a local college, and I absolutely love it. I've been there now for, I don't know, 6 to 7 months, maybe a little longer. But it truly is something that I feel, I just feel content in where I'm at, and I feel fulfilled, and I feel like I'm walking in my calling and my gifting, and coming from a place where there were a lot of false starts and a lot of kind of setbacks and feelings like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trained in a field and I'm not in that field, or I'm trained in some area of this field, but I'm not doing that work.
I think we're both in that, or you were in that stage. I'm in that stage now. So it's,
and it's a weird feeling to have for sure. So I work there. I am a full-time mom to a little guy, and we're actually have another one joining our family
Oh, yay.
in November. So it's just getting a little crazier around here. But I've been involved with See Saucy for pretty much the whole time. I took, several months off when I had Easton, completely off. But from the very beginning, I've been the social media person.
Social media, yeah.
I kind of felt like a Chloe imposter because we would get messages all the time like, "Hi, Chloe." I would respond. But involved in that aspect. And then when I came back, we kind of switched roles a little bit. And so it's been such a fun journey to be a part of.
Yeah.
I've kind of learned as my adult self that I do need some kind of creative outlet for my personality. And so this fulfills that for me. It lets me kind of jump into an area that is a little bit unfamiliar and exciting and new. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
And something that you didn't mention to everyone is while you're going through this program and rigorous training, you found a love for baking. And Ellerie is an amazing cookie designer. She does classes and she does those professional sugar cookies with the royal icing, and they are just gorgeous and they taste as good as they look. And so sounds like you found that creative outlet while still counseling through the cookies.
Right.
And so maybe now you're channeling that with See Saucy.
I think so. I think that's where I first discovered that
creative itch.
Yes, that I need that. And it was one of my many kind of little side gigs throughout the journey.
Side gig life.
Right. Yes, that's been my life the last few years.
So Ellerie is now See Saucy's creative director, and our newsletter falls under her, kind of setting the vision for the look of everything on our social platforms. And Lord, what else? Helping with designing scrubs, helping with whatever else, but managing the social media aspect.
We're still honestly in the all hands on deck stage.
Yes.
I don't know when we will get out of that, but we are definitely still in that. So our meetings from, with me and Chloe kind of encompass most of what's going on.
It's from poly mailers to podcasts to a collab to all these different aspects.
Yes.
And we really just don't have enough time to hit every topic. And then it's balancing. We work together in that professional relationship, and working with family is a whole new dynamic. And in the beginning, we really had to work through figuring out our communication styles and just figuring out roles. And so when she came back from maternity leave, we had a pretty big heart to heart of, I want this to work. I want us to work professionally, but not at the expense of our familial relationship. And I feel like it's been incredible.
Absolutely.
And, we work really well together, and we're learning one another still. And so figuring out our roles of, okay, we're going to set aside 2 hours for See Saucy, but then after that, we're not talking about it again. And we're going to be sister-in-laws, and we're going to talk about your pregnancy and your baby and just all the exciting things of life. But I feel like we've done a good job putting in those boundaries, to cut it off at some point. Otherwise, it truly is the hands on deck now, all hands on deck, and we would be talking about it and doing things 24/7. So thankful for that family relationship.
Absolutely. And I think we can both be honest and real that it has been a journey, but one that we're both so glad to be on. And I think that our work relationship is so much stronger because of our family background, and because we have spent over 5 years now learning each other in every area of life.
Yes. And all those seasons of weddings and baby showers and now business, and it's fun being intertwined in that area. It is tricky, and it's probably not for everyone. Business and family is a tough mix-up sometimes, but at the end of the day, I would not want to be doing that with anybody else.
Likewise.
And we forgot to mention, her and my brother moved up here 2 months after I did. And then my parents moved up here a year later. So now, I never thought that would happen, number one. We've always been in Louisiana, and now to have the whole family up here, See Saucy has just grown exponentially. But then just being able to be with your family is what life is about. And so I'm so, so thankful for that. So is there anything else? Is there a life mission for you? I know you asked me if there's something in this season that you would want to impart or leave, or a passion of yours right now, if there's something you want to speak to.
I think mine is somewhat adjacent to yours a little bit of I do my work obviously as a counselor is on an individual basis, but I think that's something I've seen over and over that all of us are struggling with is just to be ourselves and not to cover our mistakes or our shortcomings in shame and kind of isolate ourselves from each other, but to be okay knowing that we are all on journeys and we are all broken in some ways. We all need healing in some aspect or another, but we are all worthy of walking in God-given callings and trusting that God has great plans for each one of you, everybody who's listening to this and everyone we've come in contact with. And I think that's both of our life messages. This is why we're so passionate about this podcast right now, is because we are in our personal lives very passionate about empowering other women to walk in their callings and to own who they are in every season of life and not shy away from who they're called to be.
Sure, absolutely. And that's it. We need everyone individually, and we want everyone to feel okay being themselves. And that's truly what this platform is. We want to give a voice. We want to give everyone the opportunity to share their voice and to share their story, and that be okay to just be individually them. And so this is our first podcast, and I feel like that was really good. We hope you feel more confident and comfortable in your hosts. You will be hearing from one of us every episode, and maybe occasionally we'll both do an interview together with someone. That would be a lot of fun. But again, we always want you to leave this space feeling more encouraged, more inspired, and a little less alone.